Alright, so I'm going to rank all the new legendaries from the main set of Marvel superheroes. Let's just see how many there are and how many there are. So many. So I actually am going to be using my phone for reference today because there are, as previously joked about, just so many legendaries. So there are 128 new legendary creatures in the Marvel Superheroes main set alone. With every creature of uncommon rarity or higher taking that legendary super type on, this set has the most legendary creatures in a Magic set ever. For reference, Spider-Man only had 78 legendaries, Lord of the Rings only had 72, and Commander Legends only had 71, all within their main sets. The last set in Universe Standard was Secrets of Strixhaven, and that only had 20 new creatures in the main set of the legendary super type. The theming of these Marvel cards and the way that the mechanics have been coordinated to match with the original characters cannot be overstated. If we're going to continue to get so many universes beyond sets, I would hope that they would use this as the benchmark for how to set up the mechanics to theming for not just other people's IP, but to integrate the key components that we recognize in the game of Magic the Gathering. With this set dropping almost double the amount of legendary creatures in the main set compared to most previous Magic sets, how do the legendaries in the set stack up? Today we're going to look at that list of legendary creatures from the main set, and because there are so many, I've chosen to divide them up by color identity. I'll show off 5 monocolor commanders, as well as 10 dual color commanders, the single tricolor commander, the lack of 4 color commanders is noted, and then we'll go on to the final 3 5-color commanders that have come out with this main set of Magic the Gathering. Now keep in mind, these lists are chosen by me. These are creatures that I personally found interesting, and they're in no particular order. Check out the set to find out which legendaries appeal to you in the commander slot. Kicking off our single color identity commanders, we have in white, Invisible Woman Sue Storm. 4 and a white for a 2/5 legendary human hero with lifelink. She says, whenever you put 1 or more +1/+1 counters on 1 or more other heroes you control, you may create a 0/4 colorless wall creature token with Defender. She goes tall while her defenders go wide. Cards like Phil Coulson will throw out +1/+1s to not only Sue, but to your board of heroes, which there are plenty in white to support this deck. The ability to go wide with heroes and then boost those creatures is really shining right now in this Marvel white color identity. Classic cards like Cathar's Crusade or Felidar Retreat double down on her effect, allowing your board to get really powerful really quickly. Then in blue we have Shuri Wakandan Inventor. 1 and a blue for a 2/1 legendary human artificer hero. Artifact spells you cast cost 1 less to cast, and you can pay 1 and tap her to give target artifact you control becomes a copy of a second target artifact you control until end of turn, except it isn't legendary. Activate only as a sorcery. And so she is a artifact discounter, which is really nice, but she allows you to Xerox one of your artifacts onto another of your artifacts until the end of turn while skirting around the legendary rule. You can turn an Ultron clone you got from casting Arc Reactor into an Arc Reactor. that is not tapped, mind you. Or you could turn a clue token into a clone of the best card on the field with something like Phyrexian Metamorph. The options here are endless in blue, and this card will really shine in those Artifacts Matter decks. In black, we have Baron Helmet Zemo. 3 black for a 3/3 legendary human noble villain who reads, whenever you cast a black spell from your hand, Baron Helmet Zemo connives. He has a boast ability. Exile any number of black cards from your graveyard with 15 or more black mana symbols from among their mana costs. Copy those exiled cards. You may cast up to 3 of the copies without paying their mana cost. This is a deck with devotion to black at its heart. You have the Doomsday Excruciator / Breach the Multiverse mill-out combo in black. And with Zemo in the command zone, you're going to be able to self-mill and cast these cards from your graveyard without worrying about losing them. There's also a sub-theme here with mono-black villain token generating with cards like Madam Mask or Construct a Cosmic Cube, pumping out tokens. Next up, we have the Scarlet Witch. 2 and a red for a 2/3 legendary mutant warlock hero. She has the ability, instant and sorcery spells you cast with mana value 4 or greater cost X less to cast, where X is the Scarlet Witch's power. Being able to cheat out cards like the Vision or Thor God of Thunder that will be activated by your non-creature spells is gonna feel really, really good in this deck. Especially as Scarlet Witch grows and you're able to cast these huge spells for practically nothing. For example, spells like Apex of Power or Mizzix's Mastery with the overload cost paid. You can swing a game wildly in your favor doing this. And last but not least in our mono color, actually maybe the most, a lot of people are hyped over this particular nutty commander, we have the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl. The Unbeatable Squirrel Girl is 1 and 3 green for a 4/4 legendary squirrel human hero. She has 2 abilities. Do You Like Squirrels, which is whenever the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl enters or attacks, create a 1/1 green squirrel creature token. And her second ability is I Love Squirrels. 1 and 3 green, create X 1/1 green squirrel creature tokens, where X is the number of squirrels you control. This definitely leans to the squirrel typle, obviously. But my commentary is, the creature that everyone is referring to as the Cranko of squirrels. And it's really not all that far off. I'm honestly just going to list some of the fantastic squirrel cards to include with her, as, not to say there's not another way to do this, but if there's a right way to do it, why do it the wrong way? So some of the includes are Squirrel Sovereign, Chitter Spitter, Squirrel Mob, Honored Dray Leader, Thornvault Forager, Chatterstorm, Squirrel Nest, and finally the first card that came to my mind when I saw this card, Toski, Bearer of Secrets. If you stick with that, I hate to say normal, but it's been normalized now, the normal squirrel package, you should be pretty good with this deck functioning, again, very similarly to a Cranko, where as long as you've got mana to play her and to continue to pay her ability and attack with her, you're going to continue pumping out squirrels, and you're going to go essentially do what she does. Again, the theming on those, on brand, is so good, because this is how she wins every fight in the comics, is just overwhelming villains with squirrels. Because frankly, you can be Dr. Doom, but who wants to deal with like 1,000 squirrels? Moving into our 2-color identities, we have Iron Man, Master of Machines. For 2, a blue and a red, you get a 1/4 legendary artifact human hero creature with flying and vigilance. He says Iron Man gets +1/+0 for each other artifact you control, and whenever Iron Man attacks, if an artifact enters the battlefield under your control this turn, draw a card. Repeatable draw on a flying attacker is great, but he gets better as you build your board state. There's plenty of artifact discounters like Enthusiastic Mechanaut, Ethereum Sculptor, or Foundry Inspector to help you free cast those colorless artifacts that will pump Iron Man up too. While cards like Iron Man Armor and Improvised Arsenal add a redundancy to his effect
and lean into that Voltron style. A card like Ravenous Robots provides the bodies to block while ensuring you won't be punished for swinging your commander. In Gruul colors, we have Wolverine Fierce Fighter. 2, a red and a green, for a 3/5 legendary mutant berserker hero with haste. He says, whenever Wolverine enters, he fights up to one other target creature. If damage would be dealt to Wolverine, instead that damage is dealt, but all other damage already dealt to him is healed. This is sure to make for interesting masochist combos with cards like Blazing Sunsteel or Fiend Lash doling out the damage he takes to opponents before he heals it. The plan is to use spells to force fights and remove opponents' creatures while pinging opponents with the artifacts. Even without the artifacts, Wolverine will make for an interesting fight-typal commander. Then we have Black Panther Vanguard. 2, a green and a white, for a 4/4 legendary human warrior hero. He says, whenever another non-token hero you control enters, choose one. Create a 1/1 white soldier creature token, or creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. The cat theming on display here is great because Black Panther is a hero-themed Felidar Retreat, a traditional cat-themed card. This deck wants you to play as many hero subtype creatures as possible to go wide and then tall. Cards like Agent Phil Coulson and Captain America Wings of Freedom will quickly push your board state over your opponent's defenses. While Black Panther in the zone is a guaranteed pump out of bodies as your heroes come in, and a banner effect that will get better as more heroes come in over the course of a turn. Next, we have a snaky one, the Serpent Society. 1, a black and a green, for a 3/4 legendary human snake villain with Death Touch. Their ward is get 5 poison counters. A player with 10 or more poison counters loses the game, as poison counters work. Whenever another creature you control with Death Touch dies, each opponent sacrifices a non-token creature of their choice. Thus, that does get around your hexproof, your shroud, these types of things, the same way that a wrath does, because they don't say target. They are having your opponent choose instead. Also of note is that this is a commander that, if it's going to be removed, it can't be removed by the same person twice, because if they're paying the ward cost and taking on those 5, unless they have a way to get rid of poison counters, targeting and paying the ward cost a second time would most assuredly take a player, an opponent, out of the game. The plan here is pretty clearly poison counters. Fill the deck with cheap Death Touch creatures and have something like Finn the Fangbearer in play to force opponents to have to deal with the amassing poison counters and Death Touching blockers. Or fill the deck with poison-giving spells and creatures while running something like Oran Frostfang or Bushmaster Coiled Henchman to grant the Death Touch needed to keep the sacrificing aggro leaning heavily on your opponents. The Mighty Thor, Jane Foster, is 1, a white and a blue, for a legendary human god hero 3/3 with flying. She says, whenever the Mighty Thor attacks, exile up to 1 target non-token artifact or creature, then return that card to the battlefield tapped under its owner's control. Whenever an equipment you control enters, draw a card. She is a flicker and equipment queen. Swordsman Steel will give you potentially massive bursts of draw, and Jane Foster will let you double down on that. Repeatedly, even. Cards like Super Soldier Serum and Pure Steel Paladin will help you get around equip costs on those really powerful equipments, such as Hammer of Nazan or the Mjolnir Stormhammer, or really any of the famous swords types of equipments. I really think that we're going to see a blue-white equipment flicker, potentially in standard, but definitely a powerful version of this with heroes and equipments in blue and white in Commander. I look forward to either playing against or playing this actual deck. On to what might very well be my favorite hero amongst these cards. It's a tie really with Iron Man. I love me some Iron Man. But the astonishing Ant-Man. For a green and a blue, for Simic, you get a 1/1 legendary human scientist hero. So this is Hank, not Scott Lang. Whenever you draw a card, put a +1/+1 counter on the Astonishing Ant-Man. You can pay 2 and a green and tap the Astonishing Ant-Man. Remove any number of +1/+1 counters from the Astonishing Ant-Man. Create that many 1/1 green insect creature tokens. It doesn't say it, but those are ants. Essentially, as you're drawing over the course of the game, which you're naturally going to do, Ant-Man is going to grow, and then you get these massive payoffs where, okay, well, and it's also, I want to point out, it's any number of counters. So you don't have to do all or nothing like an Ozolith effect. You are able to give if you have 6 or 7 +1/+1 counters on him at one point, you can give yourself 3 or 4 blockers and still leave Ant-Man out of the range of something like a lightning bolt. This is another great commander that wants to grow tall while going wide. I'm ecstatic at the theming as Ant-Man grows to Giant Man and shrinks back down to summon his ant allies. Skull Clamp becomes way better than it normally is in token decks because it gives you double the counters back for each sacrificed ant token, which then becomes more ant tokens from Ant-Man's activated ability. I will recommend the normal token and counter doublers, such as Doubling Season or even Echo Prodigy, to double Ant-Man's triggered effect. But I would be remiss if I didn't mention that draw doublers like Teferi's Ageless Insight are just as good here. And we are back to our prowess king, Thor Odinson. 3, a red and a white for a 4/4 legendary god warrior hero with flying, vigilance, prowess, and that is not a typo. This creature is one of the few creatures in Magic that has a keyword printed twice, a la a cascade, or in this case, prowess. He is expensive, and so is his hammer, but it still feels really good to play Thor one turn and follow him up with Mjolnir on the next to slam in for a solid 12 damage on an opponent. And I will note that can be done in Standard and in Commander. If he's fighting alongside Thor, God of Thunder, you get the benefit of direct damaging a target and pumping your commander whenever you sling a spell like Temur Battle Rage or Psychotic Fury. Spells that are already going to be doing work in this deck for your commander. Combining these with something like Unleash Fury and Ketis Emberclaw Familiar, and you can close out a game with a thunderous cacophony among your opponents. Next, we have Taskmaster Mercenary Mimic. 2, a blue and a black for a 3/5 legendary human mercenary villain with photographic reflexes. It's an ability that says at the beginning of your first main phase, until your next turn, Taskmaster becomes a copy of up to 1 target creature on the battlefield or creature card in a graveyard, except his name is Taskmaster Mercenary Mimic, and he's a legendary human mercenary villain creature. I do love that Taskmaster gets to keep his typing. He is still himself while becoming these other creatures. This is not a new archetype for Dimir, honestly. Copycat commanders are obviously pretty common in blue-black, but Taskmaster has the unique ability to copy the living and the dead. Cards like Entomb or Buried Alive will fill your graveyard with the exact creatures you want to copy with Taskmaster. A combination of effects like that of Sir Conrad and spells like Traumatize will have you dealing massive ping damage, while also giving you plenty of options for your Taskmaster to copy. It can't be discounted that because this can copy, doesn't have to be your creatures in your graveyard or on the field. This can copy your opponent's creatures on the field, and if you want to build it as a traditional Dimir mill deck against your opponents, you can fill their graveyards by milling and give that play denial in combination with then being able to have your commander copy whatever their best spells are. Truly the dirty steal, but it's Taskmaster, he's a villain, so again, it's so great themed-wise. Then we have Madam Hydra, 2 and Rakdos for a 2/3 legendary human villain. She says whenever you cast a villain spell, create a 2/1 black villain creature token with Menace. She is limited to black and red, but this is a prime example of a great villain typo commander. Just casting your creatures with your commander out will naturally cause you to go wide, so discounting those villain spells with cards like Tombstone, Career Criminal, or Baron Strucker, Hydra Overlord will seriously speed things along, and the latter will also buff them up with a Connive trigger to boot. Some payoffs for those villains entering and leaving the battlefield includes Criminal Enterprise to do direct damage to opponents, and Yellowjack Heartless Marauder for some solid lifelink damage in the air. Venom Eddie Brock works similarly, but with the added bonus of giving you draw. And our final 2-color commander, we have the Kingpin of Crime. 1, a white and a black for a 1/5 legendary human villain. He has a cameo keyword, Extort, which is whenever you cast a spell, you may pay a white or a black. If you do, each opponent loses 1 life and you gain that much life. Whenever you attack, you may pay 2 life. If you do, until end of turn, creatures you control with toughness greater than their power assign combat damage equal to their toughness rather than their power. He is a great example of that, having 1 power and 5 toughness. That swaps him to becoming a physical threat. Not just him, but any of your other creatures, obviously, with larger butts. But the Extort ability, essentially, if you cast a spell and pay that extra 1 white or black, you are getting to drain each opponent for 1, and you are gaining 3 life. And so you're going to be able to still come out at a net gain, even if you're paying that 2 life a turn when you're attacking. Which, for the record, Kingpin doesn't need to attack in order to use his own, or in order for his ability to be triggered, rather. The Kingpin is all about using our life total as a resource while draining your opponent's life totals down. Paying life to assign combat damage according to toughness instead of power is great for certain creatures. Creatures like Indulging Patrician will then do enough damage to net a positive amount of life when they attack, as well as pinging opponents down. Jaws of Defeat is another great card that will drain your opponent's life totals as you cast those big-butted creatures like Indomitable Ancients, for example. And of course, as always, it's worth noting that in black, you have the option to do the Sanguine Bond Infinite Life Gain Drain combo. I feel like it would fit really well in a Kingpin Aristocrats deck. And as almost always, Bruce Banner, the loneliest guy. He is the only 3-color commander in the entire main set. Bruce Banner is 1 blue for a 1/1 legendary human scientist hero. You can pay XX and tap him to draw X cards, and you can only activate that at sorcery speed. But you can pay 2 red and 2 green to transform Bruce Banner, only at sorcery speed, into the Incredible Hulk. You could alternatively just cast the Incredible Hulk from the command zone, or from your hand even if you can get him there. But he costs 2 red and 2 green, regardless of transforming or casting raw. The Incredible Hulk is an 8/8 legendary Gamma Berserker hero with Reach and Trample. He has the ability Enrage. Whenever the Incredible Hulk is dealt damage, put a +1/+1 counter on him. If he's attacking, untap him, and there is an additional combat phase after this one. The front is unassuming, but is a draw engine with very little complications. As long as you are laying down mana to spend, you are able to continue to get draw off of the command zone, which is really, really nice in the earlier parts of the game to get ahead of your opponents and to really set yourself up for the cards that you're going to want when the Hulk eventually comes out, or in order to maybe cheat the Hulk out early. The reverse side here is the talk of the town. Comboing into infinite combats is the most straightforward method, with the card Caltrops pinging the Hulk, Hulk attacking and growing, and repeating this process until your opponents are all defeated. Another cheaty method that works with this is to get the Hulk out earlier by casting Bruce Banner and flipping him with the card Moon Mist. We don't care so much about the second half of this card, but the first line of this card, Transform All Humans, absolutely works on all MDFC's modal double face card heroes in this set, not just Bruce. That's worth noting as well. Although not all of them have access to green. If you're running maybe a 5-color MDFC hero deck, Moon Mist will do work for you, of note. Aside from ramping and tutoring out your infinite combos, you can use Cunning Spark Mage or Prodigal Sorcerer effects to double and triple up at least on combats per turn. With all that ramp, you have plenty of big stompy options in blue, red, and green for this deck to overrun your opponents. Pun intended. As we said, there are no 4-color identity creatures in the main set for Marvel superheroes. Notably, the Commander deck gave us 4 brand new 4-color legends in a color previously that only had maybe 1 or 2 at best options. And finally, 5-color identities. A color identity that, for the most part, is normally open-ended enough to be almost anything. Let's see if these commanders fall within those terms. Kicking us off, we have Nick Fury, Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. 1 white for a 2/1 legendary human spy hero. He only has 1 ability. It is Power Up. For a white, a blue, a black, a green, and a red, that's Wooburg, you get to put 2 +1/+1 counters on Nick Fury, then look at the top 7 cards of your library. You may put a hero, equipment, or vehicle card from among them onto the battlefield. If it's a double-faced card, you may transform it. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. A rummage the top of your deck effect for the top 7 is not bad, especially when you're getting something out for 5, realistically. If you're not building a deck for each of them, this deck is the perfect home for your double-faced cards. As we just said, Moon Mist fits in here. It is a perfect deck for double-faced heroes and just really heroes in general. He gets to look at the top 7 and free cast a spell with his power-up ability. One would hope that the spell would be more expensive than Wooburg, thus giving you a discount on using the ability instead of casting the spell naturally. Unfortunately, because of the randomness of his ability, this deck is going to be really swingy at best. You'll need some source of blink like Jane Foster or Flicker in order to use Nick Fury's ability more than once, but if you have the right legendaries, perhaps anything you get out of the deck will be powerful enough to shift the game to your liking. Another card that's the talk of the town, Super Skrull. 1 and 3 black for a 4/5 legendary Skrull shapeshifter villain with flying. He has 4 abilities. For 2 and a white, you create a 0/4 colorless wall creature token with Defender. For 3 and a green, Super Skrull gets +4/+4 until end of turn. For 4 and a red, Super Skrull deals 4 damage to target creature. For 5 and a blue, target player draws 4 cards. The not Kenrith of this set. This is what I mean when I say open-ended legendaries. Instead of Kenrith, I'm more reminded of Loot here, the 3-color Loot. Cards like Training Grounds or Biomancer's Familiar will help you to discount those good abilities, making them repeatable great abilities. Imagine paying 1 blue for 4 card draw, or 1 red for 4 damage. Those are with a colon, and so they are repeatable, not limited to the creature tapping or any real limitation of when you can cast those as well. They can be done at instant speed on your opponent's turns as well. Personally, I leaned into the theming for the Fantastic Four, and the Infinite Combo team of the Fantastic Four lives in this deck for me personally. One thing is correct about the comparison to Kenrith, and that this deck could be taken in literally any direction with this. And now for a commander that is inevitable. For red, white, and black, you get a 4/4 legendary eternal villain creature with Death Touch and Lifelink. Thanos has a power-up ability. For a colorless mana, a white, blue, black, red, and green, so that is every type of mana, a colorless and Wooburg, you get to put 2 +1/+1 counters on Thanos, choose odd or even, and destroy each other creature with mana value of the chosen quality. The temptation to build this as a Wrath of God typal deck is there, but really Thanos wants to be blinked a fair bit, like Nick Fury does, in order to get repeated uses out of their ability. It's worth mentioning that Thanos does require a colorless mana, as I said, but cards like Conjurer's Closet or teleportation circle will keep Thanos hitting your opponent's board states again and again with his power-up ability. I think Thanos is a flavor win and would really have to include himself potentially in the board wipes to be more accurate to the lore, but otherwise I think they've done a really good job with giving him the snap ability. All that said, we can build around odd or even creatures in order to cheat his ability a bit and keep it from hitting our own board. If we lean into a board wipe typal deck, we will want cards like Wrath of God or Extinction Event to keep our opponents on the back foot. We can also lean into the villain subtype of theming, so we can run cards like Dr. Octopus, Master Planner, to keep our hands full and our villains buffed. While cards like Baron Strucker or Tombstone will give us the discounts we want in order to build our army while wiping out our opponent's creatures and board states. And that is literally all I am willing to cover for now, as far as just sheer legendaries and commander ability. This has been a fun but arduous mountain to climb. Thank you for tuning in this week to the podcast. I've enjoyed covering a small portion of the new legendaries out now with the Marvel superhero set. And I hope you'll get out there and explore and see what fun new cards you enjoy and want to build around for yourself. If you'd like to help us grow, give us a like, share, and subscribe to let us know that you're enjoying the show. I'm Joe, and this has been the ManaWeave podcast. Stay super. All right, so imagine an eggplant steps through a portal and says, "I am invegetable," before snapping its gauntlet hand and dicing half the universe, right? Jump forward 5 years to a beaten and bruised carrot on his knees replying, "I am keratin," before snapping and undoing all the evils that the eggplant wrought. The next scene has a veggie tray being floated out onto a lake with a mechanized artichoke heart as we fade to black and a title card appears, A Vegster's Endive Game. I'm really hungry. Get out there, be super, play Magic, and stuff. Just gonna hang out. And I just figured I'd introduce my friend here. This is Larry. Larry, this is the audience. My daughter named him. Go figure. Ah! Oh no, I'm caught on a chair.
Hey guys, Joe, if it wasn't obvious, I'm still here, but I just wanted to interrupt our episode just to give a kind of a shout specific to this set, as to ask a question to myself and to those in our crew. Who is your favorite superhero and why? As well as, what does Magic and Marvel coming together mean to you on a personal level? And then finally, what would you like to see either subject matter wise or character wise in potential future Marvel crossovers with Magic the Gathering? So personally, my answer to these questions, my favorite has always been, and probably will always be, Iron Man. I love a character that has to think on their feet. He is a mortal person that has struggles. Shout out to Demon in the Bottle as an arc. I personally just always found the very human side of Tony Stark really intriguing, with having to overcome everything that is thrown at him. And especially because, growing up reading a lot of comics, I personally learned a lot of how to treat people and how not to treat people, punch Nazis, through the lens of comic books. And so to me, it means a whole lot seeing these characters, just like seeing them on the big screen meant a lot to me. And that moment of Endgame where everybody felt that power, and that whether you were a Marvel person or not. This set to me feels like a really, really great touchstone of all of the things that I loved growing up about comic books, translated into the game that I love of Magic the Gathering. I can't be happier, honestly, because they have hit it on the head so well with the theming. If I had to give a, how do I put this? If I had to give a request for Wizards of the Coast for a future set, I would love to see Moon Knight. I'd love to see potentially like an Egyptian themed set. And if not that, then maybe a lower to the ground street defenders and Streets of New York, including Moon Knight as a key force. Or maybe even it would be great if we could get like a Hellfire Club, and then maybe we get our occult set with Moon Knight as one of the leads. Moon Knight is a big one up there, probably tied, I would say, with Tony Stark, Iron Man, for my favorite, just because of, again, the human struggles and the overcoming that to become just an incredible character. I personally would love to see Moon Knight in a future set. So without too much more ado, I'll throw it over to Austin and then to Mike, and I'll let them say their words.
Hi everybody, it's Austin with the ManaWeave, and today we're here to answer a few questions. First, who is your favorite Marvel character and why? My favorite Marvel character is Rocket from Guardians of the Galaxy. He's a cute, funny little raccoon, and quite frankly, who doesn't like a little funny raccoon? The second thing we have on the topic today is, are you excited for Marvel and Magic to finally be crossing over? That is a mixed question. As I am fully excited and fully happy that Marvel and Magic are coming into the same stream, I do feel like they are overdoing it with these Universes Beyond sets. I feel like the real Magic sets are kind of getting smothered out and drowned. It's a little too much, that with 7 sets in a year and 4 of them being Universes Beyond. And finally, is there perhaps someone you'd like to see in a future Magic set? Please comment your answers below. We'd love to hear from our followers and our subscribers. We are curious to know these answers. But my answer to this one is very simply the Guardians of the Galaxy. I would love to see those guys in a full Magic set, along with all of the cast and all of the other crew and the actors and all the characters from that played a big part. I feel like that could be a really good set, and they have already laid out the foundation with that, with Edge of Eternities, with the vehicles and the spacecraft. So, once again, this is Austin from the ManaWeave, and like, follow, subscribe, and please comment and let us know what your opinions are.
Hey, I'm Mike with the ManaWeave. Production coordinator, production designer, set builder, key grip, gaffer, all of the above. I'm the man of many hats and many flavors. It's a labor of love. It's a labor of love.
Fair enough. So I want to ask you, who is your favorite Marvel character and why?
Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider. Ghost Rider guided me through my teenage years. Like, Ghost Rider gave me a bearing, a North Star. It's like the penance stare, like we were talking earlier.
Yeah.
You know, the penance stare can scare anybody straight. And a young kid growing up in the hood, like in the middle of just a whole bunch of stupidity, can get involved in a whole bunch of stupidity. But when you're reading about things like the penance stare and this guy going around and like fighting for the good, like fighting for the little guy, you know,
Right.
The people that matter.
Yeah, for sure. That's awesome. And I know that he's not necessarily, Ghost Rider, any iteration, isn't necessarily featured in this Marvel Superheroes Magic the Gathering set. But are you excited for Marvel to be crossing over almost completely with Magic the Gathering at this point?
I am. I'm excited to see what they do with it, and I really hope they don't drop the ball. There's so many, like, really truly awesome powers that they can use to their advantage with the Marvel superheroes in the series, but they got to get it right. Like, there's a fine line between love and hate in the Magic universe.
Absolutely. And the Magic and the Marvel fandoms, I don't want to use the word fickle, but they definitely, we are an opinionated group of people.
Very opinionated.
For sure. All right. And finally, is there anything or anyone that you want to see in future Marvel Magic the Gathering sets?
I would love to see like a Spirits of Vengeance crossover between the realms of what was the word we used? I can't. I'm farting the word right now.
Oh, Midnight Suns?
Midnight Suns.
Yes, an occult set.
An occult set.
Yeah.
Something that crosses over, gives us the heroes and villains of the occult world.
For sure.
Like, I really believe that they could do something freaking amazing with an occult set like that.
Yeah, I'd really love a set. Agreed. I'd love a set that had Moon Knight featured with the Midnight Suns, with like a blade and a maybe a cosmic Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
There's such, like you say, it's such a full universe, multiverse of lore and topics to explore. That hopefully they don't drop the ball.
Like, those were the comics that got me into comics.
Absolutely.
Those were the comics that hooked me and drew me in. Like, those are the comics that I'm sharing with my 12-year-old today.
Right.
You know, so.
But it was great picking your brain a bit, and getting to share our fandom. I know you're a big comic fan, like I am.
I am.
Austin just likes the fuzzy raccoon, the ornery raccoon, but that's okay. We like rocking around here too.
I love creativity, bro.
Absolutely. That was actually the main thing that I had said, was innovation and creativity for loving Iron Man.
Yeah.
And going through like Demon in the Bottle, and going through all of the trials and tribulations that he does, and still innovating and coming out, better for it.
Yeah.
Or having at least learned the lesson, But that's really what it's all about, is the lessons that we take from these comics. For sure.
Yeah. And I mean, it like I said, it gave me. I was I was going to a Baptist church, and Ghost Rider gave me a North Star.
Hey, look, it takes all kinds, right?
So
Sometimes a bit of penance there will do you right. But thank you, Mike.
all right, you guys be well.
Personally, my favorite character is Crossbones, and I would love to see a future skeleton-based set. That's where it's at. Larry out.